Keenan. Keenan, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. There's a probably game of the week's on Thursday, which is a little odd. Actually, Monday might be too, but on the ends of. I'm really excited for this game tonight and for the football slate this week. It's gonna be fun.
Great football weekend ahead of us. It's rare that you get bookended two really good matchups like this. Two game of the week possibilities. Thursday night and then Monday night, Chiefs Eagles. I cannot wait. Some good games in between. Our
Yeah.
Sunday night game's actually not too bad with Broncos Vikings. A couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
that might have looked pedestrian, but
Yeah.
should be a fun game. Uh, I don't know if you heard about this or not, but Drake is dropping again tonight. Scary Hours 3.
I saw. Is he going on tour with J Cole?
He is going on tour with J. Cole.
Okay, that's what I thought. Daniel Reed asked me about that. He was like Drizzy and Cole tour, and I was like, I didn't know fully, but I wasn't 100% sure.
They're going on tour. They dropped the video for first person shooter today,
How did you feel about that?
and then
If you
Drake
saw it.
along with that. I didn't watch the. I kind of skimmed through it. I saw Cole's part, and then I like rewound it, and then kind of skimmed through it. It's a dope video. I mean, I don't really. I can't remember the last video I watched like start to finish. But
Mm.
it was cool. It was cool. It's good. Drake seems to at least put effort into his
Yeah.
videos when he does them. So I mean, that's cool. But I wish music videos were still a thing to some
Yeah.
degree. But I mean, for more than anything, they're viral. Like when he
Yeah.
did the Too Sexy video the same day CLB dropped, he had Kawhi in it. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was a viral moment. But it's cool. Drake does a good job with that. Um, I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw that he was dropping tonight, I was like, for the first time in a while, I was like, I really don't need Drake right now. Like we just heard from him.
Hmm.
Granted, if it's great music, then cool. But that's the first time when I was like, I don't really need this right now. Uh, Andre 3000's dropping a Flu album tonight too. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did not hear about that. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Flu
I'm
album.
excited about. The Drake I'm not. In BBL Love, like the interlude, he said the last line he says is these boys praying I don't drop again. And every time I listen to that, I'm like, no, actually, Drake, I'm actually kind of hoping you don't drop. Like I'd like to give you a couple years of like in between
And
allowing because it's just oversaturated at this point, and I feel like he's oversaturating and putting out decent music when I feel like he could wait a little bit and put all that together into making something great. And I'd rather wait 2 years to get something great than wait 10 months to get something pretty good. That's me.
part of me wants to say, I don't know if he has a great album in him, just because he's just so rich and so far above everybody when it comes to like the lifestyle he lives. But at the same time, I've said numerous times on here, I think Her Loss is a great album. Granted, that's a collab album, so
Mm.
maybe it takes another artist to bring that out of him. But solo albums, I mean, I think I mentioned a couple weeks back, and it remains true to this week. I have not gone back to For All the Dogs for at least a month, and it dropped in September, right, or beginning of October, first week of October.
October. It was beginning of October.
So it's been about 6 weeks, and I haven't really tuned back to it. Granted, I haven't been listening to music a ton. Um, I really like Brent Faiyaz's album. That's one of
Mm.
my favorite releases. Meek and Ross dropped last week. I was very much looking forward to that. Had a
That was
busy
good.
weekend. Have gotten a chance. I've gotten about halfway through it, and I've
It's
really
good.
liked what I've heard so far. And then we got some more good releases tonight. I mean, I'm hoping this Three Stacks album is kind of a prank, and he's really got some rapping on there, but it doesn't sound like that's the
Mm.
case. Uh, Tory Lane's Alone at Prom is dropping. The deluxe, that's dropping tonight. Lil Wayne and Two Chains College Grove too. So that I'm
Yep.
looking forward to. Lil Durk's got a what are these? The label album coming out. Lil Durk and OTF, 42 Doug. So there's some good music tonight for sure to go along with Drake. Danny
Yep.
Brown, if you're into that, he's dropping an album. Earth Gang's dropping an album. Ari Lennox looks like he's dropping a single.
Mm.
So there's a lot of good music tonight, and we've had great music all around this year. Jeezy just had a good release. I got to dive into the music side of things more, especially since we're gonna have a year end music. podcast per usual coming in like 6 weeks. It'll be here before we know it. So, what are you listening to lately?
And
What's been on your playlist,
that could
if
be,
anything at
I was
all?
gonna say, depending on how things go, that could be together, like together, not just over the waves. That
Could be.
last
Yeah, I was thinking
that
about that today. It
it
likely will
likely
be.
will be
I mean,
together.
that'll be a big week of football too. We could be able
We
to
could squeeze out a
we
couple.
could be able to get a few
We could squeeze out a
podcasts in
couple for
actually.
sure. What I've been listening
Uh,
to,
phew,
Shaq and
Christmas
Kobe.
Day games too.
I have been listening to Shaq and Kobe for sure. I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have been listening for all the dogs. It has like 4 or 5 songs on it where I'm like, or I'll go back to it. Uh, First person shooter, of course. One thing I did want to mention about that video too was it felt kind of fitting to me that when Drake was rapping his first part, he was going back and forth with Cole playing ping pong, and when Cole was rapping his part, they were playing chess. Because it really felt like a chess to checkers kind of thing with Cole compared to Drake on that track. It just felt like there was just levels and just levels above. Just like not that Cole's
Mm-hmm.
levels above Drake, but in the sense of that song, he is levels above Drake. So it kind of felt in a weird way. I don't even think they meant to do that, but it just kind of felt like that a little bit to me in my head when I watched it. But pretty much I've been listening to a lot of Cole features. Like There I Go, first person shooter, obviously the secret recipe there too. I've actually dipped a little bit back into anti. Um that and that's kind of pretty much it. I've been listening to a little bit more battle rap. There's some
Anti
battles
the
that have
Rihanna
been dropping. Yeah,
the Rihanna album
Rihanna and
Anti.
anti.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, very interesting.
All right.
But I've dipped back into battle rap a little bit here too. Tay Rock versus Jack Boy came out on URL app about yesterday or 2 days ago. I watched A Ward versus Real Sick. That's an amazing battle. So I've been dipping back into battle rap, gearing up for these last few big battles that are coming up soon too. So I haven't been listening to too much music. It's been that sports and uh, battle rap. So or battle rap, sports, and a little bit of music.
Cannot wait to talk NBA soon. Maybe whether it's you and myself, you, me, and Camden, maybe me, you, and Brandon Petty. But I
Shout
have a
out
lot
Brandon.
of thoughts in the league. I'm liking how this season is going so far. There's still quite a bit of load management, but not a ton. We're still seeing it with the stars, but I mean, we're for the most part, at least the young stars are playing.
Yeah.
This in-season tournament is better than expected. I can't wait to see what the final product looks like in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I will say I have a bone to pick with you. You said prior to the year, I think I'd had it to where it was in our preview that it was like from each group to advance, and then you
Yeah.
were like, no, it's one. But I think it is two from the group advance. So I think it is like what that'd be 8 teams in there. If so, that's a
I thought
decent sized tournament.
I thought it was 4 on each side.
I think
From what I
it's
from what I read, I thought it was 4 on each side. If I said that, because I said it was 4 on each side, one from each group and then one extra. If it's 2 from each group and then like 2 extra, why not? Like it's double what I said, then absolutely wrong about that. I
I
thought it
think it
was
is two from
1
each
per
group.
each and then 2, and then it go into like kind of like a semifinal thing. But if I read that wrong, then I read that wrong. That's it.
Yeah, we might be getting 12. Either way, I'm excited to see what it looks like. I think
Mm.
we're gonna get a surprise team or two. Uh, yeah, a lot of league thoughts, but I mean, look, we want to be. There's been times where we run over time, and we're getting in the middle of the first quarter. By the time we get out of here, we want to make it
Oh,
to this game. So
I want to be
let's
I
start
want to be
off.
comfortable for this game.
Absolutely,
I want to be comfortable for this one.
absolutely. So Ravens Bengals, both coming off losses, both coming
Yo,
off surprising losses, I would say, at least in the fashion that
yeah,
they happened.
yeah.
How are you feeling about it? What, where are you going? Like, what's your lean on this game? How do you feel about it overall?
To this point, this is the most important game of the year. Like obviously, like Dallas, Philly was one of them. Miami, KC was one of them, just because of seeding purposes. But this truly is like the most important game of the year, and it's not just because they're two really good teams. It is the Ravens lose since he's a half game back in the win column of them, and the Ravens have 3 divisional losses now.
Mm-hmm.
So the division easily could be taken from them if the That's if the Ravens lose. If Cincy loses, playoffs are looking bleak. Not impossible. They did run off 8 last year, so it's not impossible, but it's looking bleak because you're gonna 5-2 at a minimum would get you in, and that's a minimum because they'd have the tiebreaker with the Steelers because they'd beat them twice. They wouldn't have the tiebreaker with the Browns nor the Ravens, so the division's pretty much gone. And then you have to think they don't have the tiebreaker with the Texans. They would have to beat the Jag. They play the Jags, so they might have the tiebreaker with the Jags, depending on obviously what the Texans do. So they don't have a lot of tiebreakers. So this game for them is very, very important, which is why I trust the Bengals in it's 50-50 for me because it's in Baltimore, which makes me obviously lean Baltimore. That's a really tough place to play. And then you got Cincy, where it's like Burrow, when his back's against the wall, he really doesn't fall flat. Like every time this year when his back's been truly against the wall, he hasn't fallen flat. But again, you don't want to put yourself in that situation 4 or 5 times. You want it to be once or twice. He's like 2 for 2 right now because I'd say the Rams game really was one. Obviously, they didn't play well, but they got it done. And then I would have personally said the 49ers one was one, and he got it done. So it's for me, it's like 50-50 right now. I've been bouncing back and forth with it all day. I really have been.
I feel kind of the same. I think if you would have asked me earlier in the week, and I think I did say this, I would have leaned more towards Bengals.
Yeah.
Now I'm leaning towards the Ravens a little bit, just because, like you said, you illustrated, it is kind of a must-win for them. If they lose this game, it's 3 down in the division. Only a game ahead of the Bengals, right?
Half game.
If they lose this game, half game.
Because they'd be 7-4,
Steelers.
Bengals 6-4, and then the winner, if the Ravens lose this game, the winner of Steelers Browns is number 1 in the division.
Exactly. So things could flip very quickly. I had said on Monday when we talked that had the Bengals and the Ravens held for, right, that I think the Ravens would have gave a strong effort in this first half. And if for some reason they were down double digits, maybe gave it another strong effort in the third, but overall just kind of concede to the Bengals for lack of better terms, maybe not all the way quit, not all the way tank that game, but if it gets to 14 or something for whatever reason, or if things weren't going their way, just say, okay, we're going to call off the dogs here. But the fact that they both lose and it now kind of is a must win for the Ravens, adds something to it. And they both play each other very well. It's just, I have no clue. Like, I really don't. I lean towards the Ravens, but I mean, the Bengals absolutely could win. But then you think about it and you think about last year's playoff game without Lamar and how well the Ravens played him. And you kind of, especially given that it's at home, you kind of want to lean Ravens. So that's what makes this a great matchup, though. I'm happy that we do, in fact, have Lamar for this matchup. That's a great thing. The fact that we can have Lamar and Joe Burrow go against each other. I mean, little did we know Sunday would be the last time we saw Deshaun Watson, which takes a little luster off all the Browns' divisional matchups now going forward. Very interested to see how that takes their season. But Keenan, without further ado, we're talking about it, but like we said, we're just going to get right into picks here. So what is your pick? Who do you have winning? Score. And if you have a specific way, maybe you can, if it's Burrow as time running down, he needs a touchdown, gets it going, or if it's McPherson, or if it's Justin Tucker kicking a field goal. What you got?
I think this game is going to be close throughout the entirety of it, and that makes me favor the Bengals just a hair. The Ravens have blown a few late game leads to division opponents this year. Lamar, 12 turnovers from the fourth quarter overtimes over the last 3 years, which is the most in the league. Not that I'm not the person trying to say he's not a clutch quarterback or anything. I think he can show up to big games. I just think sometimes he can get a little careless with the ball late. And I think that can cost you, obviously, against a team like the Bengals. I'm leaning Bengals 25-23. Nothing I would bet. I would never, like, it's not it wouldn't be a confident. I think 25-23 Bengals, I'm leaning that just because I think the game is close. And I favor the Bengals in that. If you told me this game was 10+, like the spread was 10+, I'd actually say the Ravens won. That would be my personal opinion, the way they're playing. I think close game favors the Bengals, and I think it will be close. 25-23 if I didn't say the score.
Well, I have 24-20 Baltimore. The only 3 losses on the Ravens' resume were comeback wins. Colts, Steelers, and the Browns. And the Browns and Steelers were particularly fluky. And even that Colts game, Ravens kind of got hosed with a non-pass interference call at midfield there on a 4th down call, I believe it was. Overall, I just think Baltimore is the better team. Then you factor in the home field advantage. Then you factor in, like I said, that they really do need this game now. And I do think it's going to be low scoring, 24-20. Who knows how that exactly shakes out with the scoring, whether it's an offensive heavy first half or second half. But I do favor the Ravens here. I do think they're the better team, and they need it. They need it. And I like their defense better than the Bengals at this point in time.
That's fair. Sam Hubbard's also injured too, which hurts. Sam Hubbard and T. Higgin are out, which is the big ones for Cincy. Ronnie Staley is out for the Ravens, and Marlon Humphrey, but he's been out too. So those are a couple big ones. Without Marlon Humphrey, obviously the Ravens defense has still been very good, but they give a chance for Jamar Chase to really get going. So it'll be really interesting to see. These are 2 very well coached teams. It's gonna come down to a few plays, X's and O's there, which if a quarterback makes a mistake or not. So it's gonna be a really good game.
Absolutely, and I think the Ravens will be able to get to Burrow a bit. So yeah, that's where I'm leaning. Again, not confident in it. I feel the same way as you. It's 50-50, but I lean Ravens for sure. Yeah. But, wouldn't be surprised if we come out of this with a Bengals win and heading into Sunday's games.
And I'm not surprised if the Ravens come out on top of this. It's one of those ones where, again, you have a 4-point game, I have a 2-point game. It's going to come down to a couple plays down the stretch. You're favoring home field. I think the Bengals are a little bit better in execution time. That's what it comes down to.
And the Ravens are favored by 3.5 here. Some places you could get it 4. It didn't even make it down to a full 3, which, gives me some confidence in the Ravens more so than the Bengals. Of course, that 3.5 might be because of the injuries, like you said, to T. Higgins, and the other injuries on their offense. But in general, it's going to be a bloodbath. There's probably going to be nothing normal about this game, as we see with the AFC North. So I can't wait. I'm just glad we finally have a Thursday night football game worth watching. We've had some pretty bad ones this year, honestly, or pretty pedestrian games. Probably since Eagles Vikings early on. That was like week 2. That was a pretty good game. I guess Chiefs Broncos was a pretty good game.
Chiefs Broncos was a pretty decent game, but also opening night, Chiefs and Lions.
True.
Like
that hardly counts though.
Yeah, no, see, that's my point. It's like opening night was one of your best ones, and that was obviously ring ceremony night. So that just has a different feel to it all in itself. We haven't really
and you're not coming off a short week of rest and all that. Like you have basically off a full off season.
Eagles Vikings was a good game, and then other than that, I'm scrolling through them real quick right now. Your next best one would have either been Chiefs Broncos 19-8 or Jaguars Saints 31-24. Like they've had each of them has some good moments, but like really Vikings Eagles would have been your best one. That was week 2. So let's hope this one's good.
Well, any more thoughts on that game?
No.
If not, we'll move on to the Sunday slate.
Yep.
So next I got Chargers at Packers. Packers are a 3-point underdog. Part of me wants to blindly just pick the Chargers. They're the better team. But at the same time, it is mid-November. They are going to Green Bay. That could lead to some cold weather. West Coast team going into cold weather. It's never usually a good trend. But, the Packers are a mess. Jordan Love, low-key, has been playing better the last few weeks. So this game's almost a toss-up for me. But I'm going to go. I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe I'm just going to ride it out with my preseason pick when I said they were going to win the division. That's clearly not going to happen. But I'm going to give fake confidence and blind faith in Brandon Staley in the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll say they're going to win 24-16 over the Packers.
So I actually have the Chargers 23-17. Keenan Allen's hopeful. So I would probably give it 60-40. He plays. They're already without Josh Palmer and Mike Williams, so like Josh
If they're without
Guyton.
Keenan Allen, then Packers have a really good chance.
No, that's a very good chance. I don't know Jair Alexander's status. I know he's been out for the last few weeks, so he might be back too, which that would definitely bolster their defense. But I think the Chargers are just a better team. The Packers offense hasn't been able to really get going all season long. I think that continues.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, and part of me wants to pick the Pack and I almost want to flip my pick now that I'm hearing about Keenan Allen's status. But like I said, Love's playing a little better. It is like if it's cold there, I mean, it's a recipe for it to go bad for the Chargers. The Chargers always have a recipe to go bad. It seems how they have Brandon Staley, but you'd like to see them get some consistency, which they have over the last few weeks. Really, they lose to the Lions, but they play really well, which is kind of what we were expecting. But yeah, I'll roll with that score. I think it's going to be
45
low
and
scoring.
sunny.
Interesting. So it could be all right. And you know what? Keenan Allen's not there. The fact that I'm saying, hey, if Keenan Allen's gone, I don't trust Herbert against Jordan Love and the Packers defense, which has been, here and there. The Packers defense has played well. It's been moments where you could carve it up. That says a lot about Justin Herbert. If, he'd be down a lot of weapons, sure, because they have had injuries earlier in the season with Mike Williams and such. But, you'd like to see him just kind of put the team on his shoulders. I would say like Josh Allen, but he hasn't looked the greatest lately. But put the team on his shoulders and really just take one home. That's a lesser talented team, a team sure that can win. They're a competitive team, but they've been a mess, and you'd like to see Herbert just take that one home.
Yep. This is a game where as you said, Josh Allen has been a mess, so he's kind of in flux, but you still have confidence. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. You have confidence that those guys are going to get even a Matt Stafford. You'd be like, okay, Matt can go get you one. That kind of thing. So that's kind of like the next step between like that really good to like great is where I already have confidence in you that like, okay, yeah, like Burrow without Chase, I still feel confident that they can go get a W in Green Bay. A healthy Burrow or a healthy Mahomes, obviously, say Kelsey was out, I feel confident that he could go into Green Bay and get a win. Is it going to be harder? For sure. Could they lose? For sure. But I do feel confident, and that's just because of that level of quarterback. And Herbert, it kind of.
You at least feel confidence that Mahomes would give you a chance.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about the outcome in that. I'd probably feel the same I do about Herbert, but at least I know Mahomes would give you a chance. Herbert, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wouldn't shock us if he had like a 2-pick performance and it just was subpar. You know what I mean? That's the unfortunate part of Herbert. Granted, he's still young, but it seems like there's still that to him. That, like you said, Burrow and Mahomes and the other guys don't have.
A little bit of CJ Stroud, even, that wouldn't really shock you.
Right. Yeah. Next game we have, though, divisional matchup, Titans at the Jags. Jaguars are favored by 7 points. I think this is either going to be a Jaguars blowout or a close game, an unnecessarily close game. I mean, we kind of said last week, I've kind of been on this all season where I'm like not too confident in the Jaguars in general as far as being an elite team.
Yeah.
But if you want me to have confidence in them at all, they need to at least just handle business here, right? So I'm going to give you a score of 27-17 Jaguars. But granted, yeah, I know divisional matchups can be crazy. We've seen the Pats upset the Bills. We mentioned the AFC North. We saw what happened last week with the Browns. Crazy things do happen. But after what happened last week against the Niners, the Jags really do need a bounce back win here, and not just a 3-point win or an ugly 1-possession win. No, they need an outright win over the Titans, who, they're starting a young quarterback. We saw him look like a rookie now, come back to earth after that Thursday night game. First couple of weeks, he played pretty well, and he looks good as a quarterback. But the Jags have talent on defense. You'd like to see them put real pressure on them and just take this game away, because yeah, if you win this game close, you can't feel good as a Jags fan. You already didn't feel good last week coming off that Niners game. You need a 10-point win here, a 14-point win here. You need something big if you're the Jags.
And even if it does get to 7, a game where you're in control the entire time and maybe a late score pushes it to that, whatever. But you need a start to finish confident win is what you need
Definitive win.
here. Definitive. There was no doubt in this. 30-20, I got the Jags. I think they can get that done because obviously it's a division game, so there's a chance you could lose. I mean, there's a chance you can lose any week, but division games are a little different. They see you 2 times a year. They know you better than any other opponent does. They can't lose this. Like, this is a low key must win. Just the reason why it's only low key is just because the Tennessee Titans aren't that highly touted of an opponent. But it's a low key must win because next week they play the Texans. If they
Texans
lose,
are on their heels,
and the Texans are right on the heels. If the Texans win that game, regardless if the Texans win this week and they win next week, if the Texans beat the Jags next week, regardless of the outcomes, unless the Jags win, Texans lose, they're going to be number 1 in the division. You can't allow that to happen, and you need to keep that margin as big as possible. So the Jags need to get a win here. I think that they do.
What's your score?
Oh, I had 30-20.
Okay, we each got 10-point victories.
Yeah.
Next game I have is the Raiders going to Miami. Antonio Pierce's Las Vegas Raiders going to Miami. The Miami Dolphins are a 12.5-point favorite. I will have the Dolphins just winning outright, 30-14. I don't think Aiden O'Connell puts up any sort of fight here. We do like the 2 wins from the Raiders. We do like the energy we've seen, but to have a shootout with the Miami Dolphins at home where they're pretty tough to beat, where their offense definitely shows up, I don't think that's in the cards. I think they cover. I think they win big. Who knows? Maybe 2 touchdowns for Tyreek, but definitely a win for the Dolphins here.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I have it 41-20. They have Devon Achane coming back this week. I think he's officially back now. So you have the 1-2 punch of him and Mostert again. They're coming off of a loss in Frankfurt where they didn't play well and off a bye. Tyreek Hill didn't play well. I think he's ready to get back and go off. Like he might $150 plus might be a nice little prop bet for you. Honestly, I think he could have a huge day. I think that whole entire Dolphins offense could have a huge day. Give Mike McDaniels 2 weeks to prep for a defense. Really contain Max Crosby, and you've got the game in the bag. So I think that they do that, and I think they win big.
Next is the Cowboys at the Panthers. Another big spread here. We got a Cowboys favorite at 10.5. I almost want to pick the same exact score, but I'll switch it up a little bit. We'll say 35-13 Cowboys. Look, we've seen it. A team like this, the Cowboys defense is going to swarm. The Panthers defense can be stingy at times, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. I think they're going to be on the field constantly, which will lead to Pollard having a pretty decent day, which will lead to Dak having a big day. He's looked good since their bye week. Then you got the Cowboys heading into the Thanksgiving game against the Commanders. You would like to say, oh, maybe this is a trap game, if you're a Panthers fan, but I don't see it. The Cowboys are very much in the same spot they were last year at this time. They had a great record. You had a game, I forget who it was against, but you had a winnable game going into the Thanksgiving game, which was a winnable game, which I think they came away with a win. And then you're thinking Super Bowl after that. You really should have Super Bowl aspirations if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You really only have 2 or 3 teams ahead of you if you're the Dallas Cowboys. So they're going to take care of business here. Commanders might be a thorn in their side. We'll talk about that before Thanksgiving. But, you got to feel good if you're a Cowboys fan and a member of the Cowboys team going into this game for sure. Panthers are just a disaster of a team on offense, especially. I think Bryce Young's still going to be good, but it's looking ugly this year.
He doesn't have really too great of a line, and with a quarterback that's going to be that small, you need to have a really good line because he's not going to be able to get out and throw over and around duress as well. So it's just he's not in a really great position. But again, he hasn't also he's made some rookie mistakes, and you expect that for rookies. You don't expect every rookie to only have 2 picks like C.J. Stroud does. This is obviously unprecedented territory. But to get on with the game, I got a 34-13 Dallas. what they do best. They might be the best team in the league at beating up on inferior competition. Like if they're gonna if there's a team that you're gonna bet like, okay, I bet a team against a bad team's gonna get 20+ point win, it's gonna be Dallas. Better than anybody in the league. It's really how can they do against high flying competition or people at their level. So 34-13, I think Tony Pollard finally has himself a pretty big day. I think they try to make it a point to get him the ball and get him rolling because they need him.
This could be my Micah Parsons 8-sack game, my bold prediction before the season. So who knows? But I think they're definitely going to get to Bryce Young. I would like to see the Panthers play calling be better. It seems to just be very pedestrian. I've used pedestrian a lot today, but very just run of the mill play calling. No creativity with him. He doesn't seem confident anytime he drops back. So I wonder if they replace Frank Reich after 1 year. I really do, because it hasn't been anything inspiring.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they've been competitive other than a few games here and there in the course of the game they won. But you'd just like to see more out of them. And I think Bryce Young's capable of more. But like you said, I don't think it's all the way his fault either, especially being a rookie.
I'm also a little shocked of their lack of use of Miles Sanders this year. Like, obviously, I understand the Phillies line's amazing. I was going to say, I understand the Phillies line's amazing, but the one thing that they did last year, well, with Christian McCaffrey and then with Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, was they ran the ball pretty well. So you were assuming that they would come in and be able to run pretty decently this year again, but they haven't been able to get any semblance of a run game, which has made it easier to tee off on Bryce Young because it's like, okay, we'll get him in 3rd and long, we'll just send the house at him, and we'll basically make him have to make a quick decision in 3 seconds with receivers who can't really create separation other than Adam Thielen. So it hasn't been great. It hasn't been a really good situation for him either. So like, not that you kind of give him like a little bit of a mulligan this year because of the situation that he's in, but obviously you want to see flashes at least. You don't need to be great, but you want to see at least flashes from him. He's had a flash here or there, but you'll see going forward. I think he'll progress and be pretty good. Not as much as you'd like to see, but I think going forward you'll start to see. You should start to see a little bit of things because I do have faith in him. He's obviously was a really good prospect coming out.
For sure, for sure. Next, we have a sneaky good game, I believe. It's the Cardinals at the Texans. The Texans are favored by 4.5. Look, there's been a few games. I mean, we talk about the Panthers. I came in here, laid out all the reasons why I think they could win against the Texans, and then picked the Texans. Didn't even pick the Panthers, and then the Panthers went on to win. Last week, we didn't record, but I sent you picks. I picked the Bills to win against the Broncos. I took the Broncos in everything on Monday night. I took the money line, took the 7.5, took the 7, whatever it was. Did great with that, but ultimately picked the Bills in my picks, even though I really thought the Broncos had a great chance of winning. I think the Cardinals have a great chance of winning this game. I'm going to pick them in this game. I think this is a situation where everyone's going to be on the Texans. The Texans are feeling themselves, but they're still a young team, right? If this is a team like, if they're a veteran team, they probably win this game. A game that they're favored by more than 3 points. Cardinals team that's not good. You got Kyler coming back. He's still getting his legs under him, though he looked pretty good last week. But I'm going to roll with the Cardinals here. I think they get a win. Kyler Murray moves to 2-0. I was going to say 24-20, but I've already picked that score. We'll say 27-24, field goal game.
I have the Texans winning 27-25, a very close game. I think this is a game they definitely can lose. It's one of those coming off an emotional high, and you're riding the emotional high because obviously you had the Bucks game, and that was just like C.J. Stroud making great plays. And then now you beat a team who has Super Bowl aspirations, truly. You're like, okay, yeah, we can maybe go make some noise. And maybe this is a game that you kind of get humbled a little bit, but I do think they're coached well. I think that they're going to be able to pull this one out. It's going to be definitely a tight game. If they're on the road, I think I actually would go with Arizona here, but with them being at home, I think that does help them out a little bit, and I got the Texans 27-25.
This was already going to be one of my favorite games of Sunday. Then the Deshaun news comes out. He's out for the season. Just a bizarre season all around for him and the Browns.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen a more bizarre season for a quarterback.
It's been weird.
This has been the weirdest season for a quarterback ever. Like in, out, kind of like.
performing well here and there, performing like
Yeah,
absolute dog shit other other times. They say
yeah.
he's going to be ready for the start of the 2024 season, which means we get to do this all over again next year, unless maybe uh, Dorian Thompson, the fuck's his name? Dorian Thompson Robinson, is that it?
Yeah,
I want to call
yeah.
him Dorian Finney Smith, is what I want to call him. But DTR, if he has a good showing here, maybe who knows? Maybe that makes Deshaun a backup next year. I doubt it. But who knows what the situation will lead. But I'm very interested. I'm actually going to roll with the Browns here. Browns are favored by 1.5 still, which I'm surprised
Ooh.
to see. But we've seen them in this type of spot perform well. This defense is different at home than it is on the road. Uh, this is almost just rooting for the chaos. You know how I do when it comes to this part of the NFL season. I just want as many teams as possible in the mix, just for chaotic reasons. So the Browns winning this game would give the most chaos we could possibly have out of this. I think the Steelers overall finish ahead of the Browns, especially given that they'll have a backup. Uh, but I think they win this game. It's going to be 17-16 DTR on the Browns.
I think this is like the second lowest over under at 32.5 and like or 33 I think it's set at in the last like 10 years.
Hmm.
This is like it's because it's set at 33 and they obviously have the Browns by 1.5. So your score of 17-16 is exactly what they're expecting to happen. That is what Vegas is predicting. I'm predicting 21-16 Steelers. I think that the Steelers edge it out. I like them a little bit now more offensively. As much as I don't really care for Kenny Pickett, he has made some big fourth quarter plays, and I think he'll be close late. So I do think he'll be able to make some plays. Najee and Jalen Warren have become a nice little tandem there. Not that they're like the best in the league kind of tandem, but they've been finding a little bit of rhythm there. Uh, Deontay Johnson coming back has given them another weapon. So I have some confidence in the Pittsburgh Steelers here. A little bit of them, but I think this game's going to be true fun chaos.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be disgusting.
It's
Who
gonna
knows? We might not
and
even get a
I mean,
touchdown. It might be similar to Jets Raiders. Who the fuck knows? Who the hell knows?
the
But
Steelers have won a game like that, which
they have.
the Steelers won a playoff game like that. I don't know if you remember when they beat the Chiefs 18-16 and they won on all field goals.
I don't remember that actually. What year was
I
that?
don't know if that was like
Alex Smith's Chiefs?
Alex Smith. Alex Smith. It was like the second to last or last year of Alex Smith. They won a game 18-16 on all field goals.
I do not remember that. That's
because
ugly.
I believe the Chiefs scored a touchdown, and I believe the Chiefs scored a touchdown at the end, and they stopped them on the 2-point conversion, but they won on all field goals, which is hilarious.
That's the type of ugliness we're
expecting
this Sunday. I can tell you this much: it's not going to be.
That's what I'm hoping.
Not going to see anybody running down the sideline just free. I can tell you that. So, yeah, it's going to be an ugly ass game for sure. Next, I got Giants at Commanders. Commanders are favored by 9.5. Obviously, Daniel Jones is out for the season. Tyrod looks like he's going to be out for the season. So it's going to be Tommy, go get your shine box. DeVito still at the helm. He cannot move the ball at all. They they had a 12 play, use their timeouts at the end of this game down what was it, 49? What the fuck was the score here? It was like 49-13, was it?
They ended with 17, so it was 10. It was like 42-10 or something like that.
42-10, yeah. And they're doing everything they can to score at the end. Just an ugly look. I think Dayball's still there next year, but that just was not a good look. The optics were bad with that.
49-10 at that point. And then they ended up winning 49-17. So 49-10 at that point.
And they put together a Eagles-type drive to get that last score at the end. Look, I mean, the Commanders are just going to win this game. I know the Giants play the Commanders well. They even won their last game against them earlier in the season. I don't see it here, though. I don't see DeVito doing anything. Look, Commanders might even win big. Howell, low-key, Sam Howell is like top 10, top 5 in a lot of these major passing categories. So there's a chance he carves them up. They'll be at Commanders, so it's not like they'll have the home field advantage for the Giants where they can really get up for it. I think I'm not saying they quit on Dable, but I think if they get behind by 10 points, it's going to be a kind of a wave the white flag moment. Maybe less than stellar
Mm-hmm.
effort from the Giants. We'll say something like 27-12 Commanders. And they're going into Dallas on
Yeah,
Thanksgiving, as we said. So they're going to want this game. They're going to want to just clean up this game and then give their best effort on Thursday because they still have an outside shot at the wild card.
yeah. That seventh spot is kind of up for grabs, and the way Seattle's playing as of late, they've been up and down. You never know. Someone could fall off. You never. The Vikings might have just hit a hot streak and they might come down to earth, or they might just really actually be a pretty good team. Like we don't really know what's going to happen, so you want to keep stacking up the wins when you can. I think they do here. 23-9 is what I have it. Sam Howell actually he's top in a lot of categories. He's actually leading the league in passing yards, which is surprisingly enough. But yeah, there's nothing that the Commanders can do or the Giants can do with the Commanders. There's nothing that the Giants can really do with anybody
Howell
for
would
the
have to
most
have a
part.
terrible game for them to be even in this game.
Yeah,
You just have to have a
they
terrible outing.
really would. What was your score? I didn't catch it.
27-12.
27-12. Thank you. Yeah, I have nothing else to say on this game. Commanders win confidently, comfortably.
Better game to talk about. The last game of the 1:00 window that I have. Bears at Lions. Lions are a 7.5-point favorite. Justin Fields will be back in this game. If you're the Lions here, I don't think this is a trap game. Obviously, Lions will be playing in that opening Thanksgiving Day slot as they always do. So that's a big game for them. It's a primetime game for them, essentially, being the only eyes on the TV at that point during the lunch Thanksgiving window. So I think they take care of business here.
Right
What you
after
really
the
want
dog
if you're
show.
yeah, right after the dog show.
Sorry.
If you're a
Sorry.
Lions, no, you're good. If you're a Lions fan or if you're on the Lions team, you want their defense to show up here after what happened last week. Obviously, the Chargers are capable of that, but if there was an Achilles heel for this team, you would say it's going to be the defense prior to the season. Their defense has performed better throughout the year, but coming off of last week, you want to see them kind of shut Fields down. Fields, when he's being mobile and just really improvising, he's pretty hard to stop. He can give teams problems when he's playing like that. You really never know what you're getting with Fields. If he's doing the whole drop back thing, then of course, then that's easy pickings for everybody, really. But if he's really trying to get out of the pocket, create things, just take off in general, this could be a matchup problem for the Lions. I still think they take care of business, but I do think it's going to be a closer game. We'll say 28-24 Detroit.
I have it 28-21 Detroit. I think that David Montgomery is going to have a pretty good game playing against his old team. I think that's going to be good for him, especially them coming to see him. I don't see the Lions losing this game at all, but you do have two division opponents in 4 days. I do think that's going to be a little tough for them. And as much as you were saying, they're two nationally televised prime time. All Thanksgiving's prime time, regardless of what slot it is. All of it's prime time. So you're in like a big time spot to really show kind of like, yeah, we're this team for real. I think that they're gonna not save it, but if they have a blowout or a big win in them, I think it'd be more on Thanksgiving than it'd be here. I think Fields does well running, so I have them 28-21 here. And I think if they were to have a big win within the last two games, it would be the Thursday game.
Got you. Sneaky good game here, though the line wouldn't say that, but I think this is going to be a closer game than what the line indicates. It's Buccaneers at the 49ers. Niners are favored by 11.5. I think this is going to be a touchdown game, though. That being said, if they get to Baker at all, it's going to be a blowout, and it will be exactly what this line predicts. But hey, the Bucs are right in it in the NFC South. The Bucs have some talent on both sides of the ball. We continue to say that. Like, this team has real pedigree, and Baker's no slouch either. Now, if you can get to Baker and he has no time all day, then yeah, this is just going to be a walk for the Niners. But I'm predicting it won't be that. It's going to be a little low scoring too, I believe. Let's say 21 49ers.
No. I actually have it. I do have it as a blowout more so. I have it 31-17 49ers. I think coming off of that win, if you're not going to get to Brock Purdy, then I think it's a field day and it's a good night. Can they get to Brock Purdy? They definitely can. They have the capabilities, and Todd Bowles has the defensive play calling to do so. I just feel that with Trent Williams being back, they're going to be able to give him enough time with Debo being there, plus obviously Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. They just have too much, and they'll be able to move the ball in Tampa. If they can protect them, they can throw on them. They throw on them. I think they get up big. So I got 31-17 49ers.
Yeah, maybe I'm hoping for a good game here, and maybe I don't know. I think that 11.5 is far too high. I really do. I just think the Buccaneers have talent,
It's
but at the same time, like I said,
it's a
if
tricky
it's
spread.
Bosa, yeah, if it's Bosa and Chase Young just getting to Baker, then yeah, it very well could be a repeat of the Jags game last week. Maybe not 35-3, but it
Mm-hmm.
could get ugly. But I don't know. Buccaneers need a
Yeah.
good win in this spot against a good team, or at least a good showing, because that division is going to continue to be wide open. Does look like Derek Carr
Yep.
should play. I think they got a bye this week, but it looks like he'll at least come back and play. I don't think it's going to be Jameis. Uh, so who
Mm-hmm.
knows? I mean, I did like what I saw out of the Saints prior to this game last week against the Vikings, but you never really know in the NFC South. But you have to feel good if you're the Buccaneers in comparison to the Falcons. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They at least need a good showing. I don't think, of course, they're not going to win this game. I would be shocked, but you at least need a good showing here to build confidence going into
Mm-hmm.
this home stretch of the season. Because once it's Thanksgiving, I mean, that's really where the men separate from the boys when it comes to the NFL. So they need something here to at least just prove that they're a playoff team or in that ilk.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then
What's the
next
next game?
we got the Seahawks at the Rams, and the Rams are a 1 point underdog at home. I actually like the Ravens here, or sorry, the Rams here. We've mentioned how the Seahawks have been up and down, and they really looked pretty good last week. Gino, at least, corrected a lot of his mistakes last week. He looked good. But we've seen the Rams play the Seahawks tough. They blew them out in week one. Stafford's coming back from this game. If this was not Stafford, then I would definitely be all over the Seahawks here, but I'm going to go with the Rams in a low scoring game. I mean, aside from the opening game, we do see a lot of low scoring efforts with these two teams. So I'm going to say 21-17 Los Angeles.
I actually had the Rams as well. I had all my picks written down prior, so we're aligned on a lot of stuff this week. We've been actually pretty off the last few weeks. This week we're pretty much aligned. By the way, I'm 3 games up on you right now. We've been kind of staying. I was up 7, then you got back, and then we've kind of been just staying. Even though we've been picking different games, we've been splitting those games 50-50. So I'm 3 games up on you right now. But I do have the Rams 25-23. Um, 9-5 McVay against Carroll. He's done pretty well against Carroll throughout the entirety of his career. Stafford is coming back. Cooper Kupp, I think he has a pretty big game. I believe they're coming off of a bye. I think the Rams are coming off a bye. If I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly, last week they didn't play. Yeah. So I think that McVay off of a bye gets the job done against them, especially even though they're at home. Not really at home, but at home. So they at least feel like they're at home. They go in through their own home routine, even if the crowd may say 50-50 or even 55-45.
For sure. For sure. Next in the 4 o'clock window, we have an AFC East matchup. It's the Jets at the Bills. Bills coming off a tumultuous week. They fire Ken Dorsey after the game, which I don't think it was deserved at all. I mean, they're only 1 year removed from Daboll. If you look at the team stats, they're really still one of the better offensive teams in the league. Uh, it's not Ken Dorsey turning the ball over. Uh, I don't really. I mean, this seems like just true fall guy type of stuff. I don't know if that
Absolutely.
means maybe McDermott is the next guy to go in the offseason, especially if they don't make the
Ooh.
playoffs. But I thought that was a bullshit firing. I really did. I don't think he deserved to go at all. Really, this is on Josh Allen more than anything. And even he's not really, it's not that he's turning the ball over a ton, it's when he's turning the ball over. It's all in
Yeah.
key moments. Uh, I mean, shit, it was Broncos Bills. And what we know of the Broncos, that's the kind of performance the Bills put on. The Bills look like the Denver Broncos, or the Denver
Yeah.
Broncos we've kind of billed them as,
Mm-hmm.
right down to that fumble. I believe Cook had, he recovered it. But I mean, the fact that
Yep.
he broke away, had it stripped from behind, and then he still recovered it. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff we've seen from the Broncos since last year. And, while we're talking about the Broncos, and we'll talk about them literally in the next game, uh, I really like what I'm seeing out of them. They look like they're possibly a wild card contender now. But the Bills, look, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's going to be a touchdown game. I think that line's a bit high, just given how the Jets have played the Bills. But there's no way in hell I have Zach Wilson winning at Buffalo. He hasn't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. No, the Bills are going to get right here. Who knows what happens after that? Their schedule is scary after this. Their
Yeah.
next three is what? It's like Eagles, Chiefs, and Bengals is their next three, I want to say. I don't
Bengals
know if
no, but hold on. I know it's not the Bengals. They played the Bengals a couple weeks ago. It is
that's
Jets.
correct.
Obviously, this week they've got the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. Is the next
Cowboys,
three.
yeah. So
Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys.
you need to at least just win against the Jets. I think they do. I was gonna say 23-17, but that would involve a touchdown. What the hell? I'll be nice. 23-17 Bills. The Jets get a touchdown somewhere. Maybe it's a defensive touchdown. But yeah, the Bills
Um,
got to take care of business here. They lose this game, you can almost consider their season over. You really could.
yeah. What was you said a touchdown favorite?
Yeah, it's 7 point spread.
Okay. Um, I all of my body wants to pick the Jets 23-21. I have Buffalo 27-20, Jets 23-21 on here with a slash in between, not sure which one I was going to choose coming in. I am taking the Bills just because seeing Zach Wilson go into Buffalo and win a game, I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing rather than predict it and then see it. Um, I couldn't agree with you more where I don't feel that he should have been fired. Sean McDermott's next. And it's not even because I think he's doing a terrible job or anything. I just think at some point you're going to, when you keep going down, because I mean, I predicted them to miss the playoffs, and I think that they are trending that way right now. I think there's too many good teams in the AFC, and they won't have tiebreakers either. But when you keep trending downward, going from AFC championship game to then now missing the playoffs and gotten worse every single year, it doesn't look great. And someone's going to have to be the fall for that, even though really the guy at fault the most is Josh Allen. He's led the league in turnovers every year pretty much of his career. And other than the years with Dayball, but otherwise, like it's really Josh Allen. He throws unnecessary picks and he throws them at the most inopportune times. So it comes down to his decision making more than anything. And I don't think Ken Dorsey deserved to deal with that. But Buffalo 27-20. And you had Buffalo 23-17.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to fire Dorsey at the end of the year, fine, but it was a complete
Yeah.
panic move on McDermott's
Yeah.
part to just let him go from the staff. By the way, if McDermott were to get fired in the offseason or on Black Monday, I wouldn't agree with that either. Like, I think he's more than deserved to stay there. I mean, he's really been their only stability, uh, in the last 15, 20 years, probably since Bledsoe was on the Bills. I mean, they just haven't had any stability, especially during the Brady era. So, I mean, I would hope they wouldn't fire him either. I mean, really, doesn't matter to me either way being
Yeah.
a Patriots fan. But just in general, do I think that would be a deserving firing? No, I don't.
I
So,
think they
but
might, though. I really do. I
it could
really think
happen.
they might. I
Could
really,
happen. I don't think it's deserved though. I think
yeah,
you build up
I can
that
agree with
equity
that for
in
sure.
Buffalo, and especially in a football crazy city like Buffalo, a small town compared to all these other football cities. But you want to build. I mean, look, you don't want Josh Allen heading into what is the prime of his career. He's in the middle of his prime right now, but you don't want him heading into like smack dab in the middle of his career with a possibly subpar coach. We don't know who's going to be out
Mm.
there, but say that coach isn't what McDermott's been for him. Uh, that could get ugly very quick in Buffalo, which just seems like a cursed franchise. Poor Bills. I genuinely feel bad for them.
I would try
But
to. If I'm Buffalo, I mean, because if they miss the playoffs, I do think they'll fire him, even if it's not. Even my opinion, I don't think that's the necessary move. I think they need to get a really good offensive coordinator there. I think their choices, they should definitely go after Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator in Detroit. I know he's going to be getting a lot of calls, obviously, with how Detroit's progressed and played. And then always, even though he's suspended right now, Jim Harbaugh, I always think that he's been a winner every step of the way, everywhere he has coached. I think Jim Harbaugh would be perfect for Josh Allen. I think the way he
we
coaches, he's a run first guy, which I think would help him out there. And obviously, you allow Josh to be Josh, but he's a run first guy, but he's also a quarterback. And then he's played well coaching. Well, I just think Jim Harbaugh would be great for Josh Allen. My
Yeah, we
personal
need
opinion.
Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL. Uh, I was disappointed to see him go when he left to Michigan after his Niners stint. I'm honestly surprised he hasn't been back already. So yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as possible, we need Jim Harbaugh back, and that would be a great fit. That would be, in my opinion, a coaching upgrade from McDermott. And I
It
think
would be,
McDermott's a
and
good coach, but
I'd be scared of
Harbaugh's a
that
great
personally.
coach. What's up?
As a Patriots fan, I'm scared of that.
Yeah, that would be that would be tough. I mean, especially with the talent that the Bills do have on their roster. But I mean, again,
Mm-hmm.
they're hurt on defense. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it would just they should not fire McDermott. But yeah, if they do end up firing him, that would be the name I would go for. If I'm a lot of teams, excuse me, if I'm a lot of teams, Jim Harbaugh's the name I'm going for too. Like he should
Yep.
absolutely be back in the NFL.
Yep.
Moving on to the Sunday night football game though, we got Vikings at Broncos. Low key, out of all these games, I know we got Eagles Chiefs. I know we got tonight the AFC North battle, Bengals, Ravens, Lamar, Joe Burrow. But hey, this is one of the games, especially on Sunday slate, maybe the game I'm looking forward to the most on Sunday slate. Like I said,
Yeah.
prior probably would have been Brown Steelers, but I think this game's going to be a roller coaster. I mean, Dobbs has looked great since he's gotten to the Vikings. The Broncos, if nothing else, have been entertaining. Russ has looked much better. That was a throwback. That was a throwback Russ game on Monday night. He had a few flips in there. That play he had, was it
To
Sutton or
Sutton.
Judy?
To
Sutton that
Sutton
had
in the back of the
his
end
feet
zone.
down. That was like the lowest possible
It's like
or lowest
3%.
completion predictability or something about it for by
Yeah,
ESPN standards.
it was like
And
the completion percentage rate was at like 3% on the play because of
right,
like how he was rolling out, and Sutton, beautiful feet, beautiful hand, like how he pulled that in was amazing. And then obviously you saw Russ throw it, you're like, he's just throwing that away. That's okay, way to avoid the sack. And you're like, oh, he caught it.
dropped it in.
He's in bounds. What do you mean?
And apparently
That was crazy.
number two on that list, which is or that stat, which I think only goes, I don't know if it's like 10 years, 15 years, or maybe it's who knows how far it goes back. It's a
Mhm.
newer stat, I guess. So maybe even like 8
Yeah,
years. Who fuck knows?
him to lock it, was it?
Point being, yeah, the second one was that 2 point conversion he had in that NFC Championship game against the Packers, where he's running around, he's spinning around, he just throws it up. That was apparently number two on the list. So Russ is 1 and 2.
That one,
Uh,
as a Packers fan, that's the one that hurts me the most. Other than obviously the onside, I think Jeff Janis maybe with the onside kick, but that one, obviously you had the great pass over the middle. He got behind the defense. He made a great pass, but that 2 point conversion, that one would haunt me forever because if you just stop that, it changes the entirety of the game.
That's one of my favorite
Oh
games
man,
that I've watched. That was an incredible game. Low
yeah.
scoring, but tons of
And
action
it was low
all around.
scoring. Mm-hmm.
Tons of action. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but man,
Yeah,
I
the
don't really
Packers
know
have
who
been a
to
part of
pick
some of
here.
the a lot of great games. Sorry,
They have.
sorry. The
They
Packers have
have.
been a lot of really good games, but we'll talk about it another time. We got big things to go tonight.
Yeah, no, I don't really know who to lean here. I think I would favor the Broncos, but I mean, look, the Vikings seem like they got some sort of magic with them, and I love Dobbs. Like I even liked him on Arizona. I said how much he had surprised me. He looked very competent, and then for his whatever reason has taken off. Where quarterbacks really shouldn't be taken off when they don't know the playbook and all that, but it's unleashed him. I've heard some people compare this to Linsanity. It's kind of apropos. Uh, Man, I can't help but think though, like, what would this team be? Because I mean, I called this back in week 3 or 4. I said, watch out for the Vikings to make a run. Kirk Cousins is playing phenomenal, this and that.
Hmm?
Literally up until his injury, he was playing phenomenal. and here we are. And they're still looks like they're still going to make a wild card run. I would love to pick the Vikings here. I do think the Broncos have something going though. Let's have a thriller here. Let's say 35-32 Broncos. That's what I'm hoping for. Who knows if it'll actually happen? It'll probably be about 10 points less, but I'm going to hope for a shootout and a thriller.
And what was the spread on this?
2.5. Broncos favored.
I've got the Vikings winning this game 26-23. And Josh Dobbs has weapons. Him and T.J. Hawkinson, great connection last game. He's got Jordan Addison. Justin Jefferson's back this week, I think. Pretty positive he's going to be back this week. So that could be scary.
Top 10 defense.
Obviously, Denver has been playing well. And Denver has been playing well. Denver has been like a top 5 defense since their 70-point debacle. There are no stats ever going to really say it now because of the fact of how bad they were at the beginning of the season. But since that moment, they've, I think, allowed 16 a game over the last 4 or 5 games there. So they've been playing very good football. It's going to be a good game. It's definitely top 4 for best games of the week. You've got Cincy, you've got Philly, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Regardless, still, I think that's still going to be a really good game, fun game, even though it's going to be a defensive battle. And then you got this. So, but I got 26-23. Josh Dobbs, Sunday Night Football, doing his
Dobbs
thing.
Mania. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Broncos having a top 10 defense since the Vikings also have a top 10 defense. So maybe this is a lower scoring game, but I think it's going to be fireworks, whatever the case. I don't think it's going to be a normal. Or what?
No. I was about to say, or in those weird situations where there's 2 good defensive teams, it's a party. They both just throw parties on them. So that's what I'm hoping for. I hope for, like, your 35-32, I hope more than my 26-23. Because that means Dobbs and, like, you saw vintage Russ, and you saw Dobbs trying to be his best impersonation of Russell Wilson. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of the score, it's going to be fireworks. Like, I think we could see a play where someone gets picked off and it looks like it's going to be a pick six. And then, it's a strip fumble going back to the offense. Like, I think it's going to be one of those type of games. The Broncos can't seem to play a normal game. The Vikings damn sure haven't played a normal game in quite a while. And they're always one-score games. Vikings are never blown out, it seems like. They're always competitive in these games. So this should be a good one. I can't wait. Definitely better than our Sunday night game last week. But Monday night, we'll end with this. It's Eagles at Chiefs. Both teams coming off a bye. Super Bowl rematch. This line all week was Chiefs by 3. Now it's Chiefs by 2.5. I was prepared really to take the Eagles. I mean, I got the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I do think overall the Eagles are the best team in the league, especially when healthy. But man, the closer we get into this game, I just think it's going to be Mahomes, even though they don't have a receiving core to speak of, really. Even though Kelsey, last time we saw him, he was getting shut out by the Miami Dolphins. Even though Mahomes has just been Patrick Holmes, like maybe playing like Jackson Mahomes more so. Maybe playing like the high school star Patrick Mahomes, the basketball player, more so than what we've been accustomed to with Patrick Mahomes. But I'm kind of leaning that way. I think it will be low scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know where I'm going to go here. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. No, I'm not going to pick the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Eagles. I think, let me get this straight. I think the Chiefs are going to win. But I'm going to pick against them because I need a win here. So I'm going to ride with the Eagles because they were my Super Bowl team. But I have a feeling you're going to go Chiefs. So I'm going to go Eagles. And guess what? If you pick the Eagles, then I'm flipping back over the Chiefs. What is the score? I don't know. It's going to be mid-20s. I seem to fall on 24 a lot. We'll say 25-22 instead. Instead of 24-21. We're going to bump it up points. 25-22. Eagles. Philly.
So the other game that I had written down, I had obviously Buffalo, New York with the slash. I had Philly 26-24 / Kansas City 30-22. And I'm going with Kansas City 30-22, and this is a last-second decision. because I actually wrote down Philly first. Um, it really comes down to Andy Reid off of a bye is tough. When he has 2 weeks to game plan for you, I think that's really tough. You get a week to study film, and you get a week for these receivers to kind of gain a little bit more rapport with the Chiefs. The thing with the Eagles is the Eagles don't really have steps to get better. They just need to be more tuned. The Chiefs have steps to get better, and I think that's what the bye week is for. And I think the Chiefs will take a step to get a little bit better. I think the Eagles are like overall a better team because they already have everything in place. They just need, okay, Jalen, just cut down on the turnovers a little bit. Okay, we just got to make sure we can shore up the back end a little bit here. And then the Chiefs actually have like, okay, we got to find out our receivers. We got to find out some certain things. But since the offense is their biggest problem, you have Reed and Mahomes have 2 weeks to figure that out. I think they get it done.
They really need to get their receiving core right in Kansas City. You can throw on the Eagles' defense, but if they're getting a Mahomes, it might be a long night. The Chiefs' defense, however, they can match up with the Eagles' offense. Hurts, no pun intended here, looks a little hurt, looks a little banged up. He isn't running the ball as effectively. So, I mean, there is a recipe here
We'll
for
be
the
interested to
Chiefs.
see how he
I
comes
mean,
off the bye.
for sure, for sure. But the Eagles do have more talent. So I mean, this could be a case. But look, it's the Chiefs at home. Again, I'm gonna lay out more reasons for the Chiefs to win, but I'm picking against them. But I really do think it trends more towards the Chiefs than it does the Eagles. Now, if this game was in Philly, I'd pick Philly and not even think about it. But yeah, there is more credence to your pick, and you went Chiefs like I thought you would. So I'm just gonna roll with the Eagles just because we've agreed so much this week. But I really am feeling the Chiefs more, so I'm
Yeah.
phony.
You want to know what's surprising though? Even
Huh.
though it felt like we've agreed the entire time, we have 5 picks that are different, and
Do
they
we?
happen to be, in my opinion, the 5 best games of the week. They have Cincy, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Denver, Philly, KC, and then Arizona, Houston. We have all
Okay,
5 of
okay.
those games different. So we do have some differences in our games here. I think this week it just didn't feel like it because I see where you're coming from on every single one of your picks, and you see where I'm coming from on every one of mine. We're just we're just ended up at this different times, but we'll
This is
see.
look, we did really good timing for this. It's almost
Oh,
8:15.
absolutely.
I don't know if it's 8:15 or 8:20 that it starts, but it's one of the two. I do have a question before we depart.
For sure.
What
We
did
got
you
some time.
think of the Draymond Green headlock, and what did you think of the 5-game suspension?
I thought 5 was a little much. I thought they would go with 3 because he didn't throw any punches or anything. But I definitely think that the headlock was unnecessary. But I think the reason why he got the 5 was not because of the initial headlock, but was because of the fact that he just like almost refused to let go. Because like Rudy Gobert came up to Clay after Clay and I think Jaden McDaniels kind of got into it a little bit of whatever. Clay started pushing him, even though they got locked up a little bit, and then Clay's jersey got ripped. And then Enforcer Dre came in, Big Bouncer Dre came in and put him in the sleeper, but didn't actually want to put him to sleep. He just wanted to restrain him like you would do with a troubled minor. Um, so like I would have gone with 3, but 5 is I'm not like terribly upset with 5.
A troubled minor. Uh, I actually think he should have
What he
been
did.
suspended. I think it should have been a bigger suspension, honestly. Uh,
Oh, do you?
Adam Silver, I mean, I've said this. He's been good for the league in some ways. In a lot of ways, I think he's like an assistant principal running the league. And this is one. Like David Stern would have had this would have been a 12 to 15 game suspension. Like, how are you gonna say what you want about Ja? I thought 25 was a little high. I thought 20 games would have been fine for Ja, but he flashed a gun. This could have went really wrong. Like there is I'm not. I'm a huge fan of the UFC, but it's not like I'm a fucking MMA expert here on techniques. But there is wrong ways to do headlocks. Like that could have been really wrong. Like he could have accidentally
Mm.
broke Rudy Gobert's neck. Not to mention it was just wild unnecessary. Like yeah, Clay and McDaniels were in it. He saw he seized his opportunity when he just saw Robert put hands on Clay at all and just was like, okay, I'm going for the choke and wouldn't let go. Steve Kerr's yelling for him to let go. Like the Warriors are yelling for Draymond to let go. This should have been an 8 to 10 game suspension, I believe. Was not surprised at all that it was 5. Honestly thought it was going to be 3, like you said, because Adam Silver's just soft. Like I said, he runs this league like an assistant principal. Great content for the night, though. Hilarious to see Draymond take it literally from 0 to 100. Then Rudy Gobert claps back at him at the end of the game and said, yeah, I knew he was going to try to do some wild shit because he does that anytime Steph's out. Anytime Steph's out, Draymond doesn't want to play, so I knew he was going to get ejected. I thought that was very interesting. Then he said
Did you
something
see
like,
the stats on it?
no, I didn't. There's stats to back it up, too.
Yeah, so Draymond, there's been I think 74 games without Steph he's played. He's gotten ejected out of 7 of them. With Steph,
Wait, how many games he's been without Steph? 74?
He's played 74 games without Steph, and he's been ejected out of 7 of them. And then I think out of the other like 650 whatever games he's had, he's only been ejected like 3 times. Like it's literally been like without, like in the regular season it is like without Steph, like the percentages are like actually massively higher. Obviously he's not going to get ejected out of every single game because he's a human being, but
so total it's been, I guess, 3 without Steph
he's like the total it's been like he's like got ejected like pretty much at like 1 every 10 games instead of like 1 out of every like 50 or 60. And it's been a decently sized sample size. So it's like, not that it's like crazy, like he's been like every other game he gets ejected, but definitely the percentage is much higher without Steph than it is with him, which also speaks a little bit to Steph because Steph's able to de-escalate what could be a flagrant 2 to maybe a flagrant 1, depending on like what the situation is.
I don't know if I agree with that.
To attack. And then but then sometimes it's just Draymond being Draymond. I feel like maybe 1 or 2 of them Draymond time Steph could probably go overboard, or maybe it's just like the sheer presence of Steph. He's like, let's play with him. Like, whatever.
I don't think there's any de-escalating Draymond. I don't think it matters who's on the court with That's Draymond. Fair. I mean,
that's fair. This guy got kicked off out of the finals game, so.
I mean, come on. He punched Jordan Poole. Never got suspended for that, by the way. And look, Jordan Poole, not defending the punch at all because, I mean, that was OD. But Jordan Poole has looked like a joke in Washington. There were some people, like, love KG to death. Love KG, but him saying that Jordan Poole was going to have a James Harden type season or James Harden type breakout, that was insane. He has just looked, I like Poole's game, but he's just looked more like Nick Young than anything in Washington.
Yeah,
pedestrian, right? Throw pedestrian in there too. But I mean, he's just like, he's throwing towels around. He's pissed at the coach. He's not looking at plays in the huddle. Like, he just looks like a nightmare teammate. And the Warriors will go out and tell you that every chance they get. Anytime it's any press conference, they're like, yeah, the chemistry is so much better. This and that. I'll save all these thoughts for another time, but I do think the Warriors have their own issues. I think they're a better team, but I think they need a big man or 3 or 4 or 5 to go on the bench.
To be honest with you, Kyle, I'm not even going to say, I don't even think that's their biggest issue right now. I'm going to quickly say that I think they need a scorer.
They need that too.
Steph Curry, other than Brandon, whatever his last name is, can't think of it, who put up 23 because everyone got ejected. That was the first game anyone but Steph Curry in one game by Dario Saric went over 20. Clay hasn't gone over 20 all season long. It's been like their offenses look great early because Steph has been putting on shows. And Steph's still putting on shows, and they're either losing close games or like whatever. Like, it's been a Steph Curry. He looks like an MVP. Obviously, he's not right now. He'd probably, I mean, we're not getting into whoever it would be right now. But, like, he's looking like it's going to be an MVP candidate. And then the rest of the team offensively is looking like pretty decent. Chris Paul's running a show on the bench, but that's whatever. But, yeah, you're right. That's a whole nother conversation. We've got a lot to talk about there, but this game is about to start. So, thank you. This was the Warner Brothas podcast. I am Keenan. Obviously, Kyle there as well. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I know we have a Facebook that was barely usable, but Facebook too. Warner Brothas Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Catch us also on Live Take. We'll be going live take for the halftime and after the show, after the game of this. So when you see this, double back, check us out for our live reaction of the Bengals versus Ravens game. This was the Warner Brothas podcast, and we are out.